welcome to Out of the Darkroom on Adorama TV. I'm Ruth Medjber and I'm here outside the Gallery of Photography in Dublin's Temple Bar. Today joining me on the show is Kim Haughton and we're going to be discussing her career as an extensive international photojournalist.
Adorama TV presents Out of the Darkroom with Ruth Medjber.
Kim, thanks so much for joining me here in the Gallery of Photography. Your work is outstanding. It's really, really lovely. It's really powerful. How's the response been to it so far?
Oh, thank you. The response has been really great so far. I mean, it's a very difficult subject for people to engage with, but you know, there's a lot of footfall coming through the gallery and a huge amount of people that are quite moved by the show. So that's, you know, and the comments book is getting full.
God, that's what you like to see, a full comments book.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you wouldn't mind telling me a little bit about how you got started off in photography.
I mean, it all started when I was 8.
Really?
Yeah,
wow.
In school we had this great teacher who just set up a camera club. And he used to bring us down to the beach. I grew up in North Dublin and we'd photograph like the waves and the grasses, and then we'd go down and photograph the train station, and you know, and it gave me a great, like, it just made me really sort of think that this is something that I absolutely love. So then I got my first camera when I was 15, my first proper SLR, which was a Praktika. And they used to do this kit, so you got the camera and you got a flash and a lens, a zoom lens, in a little kind of square sort of box. And so then I went to DIT and I studied photography for 3 years, and I trained then in the Sunday Tribune, in newspaper, in the darkroom, processing and printing, and back in the day. You
went straight from like university, from college, into a darkroom atmosphere.
Actually, I realised once when I started college that I just hadn't a clue, and I was really lucky that I knew somebody in the Sunday Tribune who just let me go in there once a week to learn the ropes, because I knew that I wanted to be in photojournalism or newspaper photography. And back then they were doing just they had great photographers in there, you know, and it was the newspaper that was publishing, in my opinion, the best images in Ireland, you know. So
what is it about photojournalism in particular that drew you in, that you knew you wanted to do it as a career?
I think I could see a real power in it, like a power to tell stories. And the way the newspapers were laid out, you'd have there would be these beautiful 2-page spreads of images that, you know, that told the story without having to even read anything, or just with the long form captions. And I just always remember it being a really beautiful way to express an idea or to express an issue or to get an issue across. I mean, of course, that was early 1990s, so in the kind of golden age, really, of photojournalism, you know.
Yeah. Maybe you could tell us a bit about the background of this project.
This project is in plain sight. I started it in 2011. I started it completely out of an assignment that I was doing for a French magazine, where I photographed one of the people who's in this show. And through that, he led me to kind of continue on the project by telling me about all of these other people who had been abused as children, both by clergy and family. And it was something that I just felt compelled to continue.
How do you even begin to approach these people and get them to open up? How does that work?
Everybody was different. You know, for some people it just worked the first time that I met them. For others it was more a process of maybe having to go back second or third time. When you're labelled a journalist, there's an immediate, you're fighting the trust issue from the very beginning. And so that was the biggest challenge, really, was to get people to trust me, you know, to understand that what I was doing wasn't going to be kind of splashed on the front of a tabloid and then used for tomorrow's chips, you know. Maybe
you could tell us a little bit how you got these shots then, because you did mention film and I noticed they're square format, so I'm going to hazard a guess at what you did, but maybe you could tell us.
Well, I used a Hasselblad, yeah, so which sat in a case in the attic for a long time, actually, when I moved to digital and sort of did all that, but then I just had to go back to film, to analog, and
was it particularly for this project you moved back to analog?
No, I did a portrait project before on turf cutters.
I saw that. It's fantastic.
So in black and white, that was the first time I went back, and you know, just I remember being out on the bog with the camera and just looking through this beautiful viewfinder and just seeing the landscape and the brown butter bog and these guys who look like they're from the last century, you know, engaging in this tradition, and it just seemed like such a natural fit. You know, you couldn't photograph that on a digital camera. It would kind of ruin everything.
You match the project to the camera then in that way.
Yeah, absolutely.
And would that be through film as well, through your choice of the film selection? Because the bog, obviously, it's this gorgeous, these black and white pictures, but they have a gorgeous tonal quality to them.
Beautiful.
It's almost like silver, kind of reflecting off it. I just think they're so inviting to look at them. Do you have a favorite digital camera?
I use a Nikon. I've always used Nikon, so I use the D810.
You stick with the Nikons. That's nice.
Yeah.
I wanted to bring you on then to projects a little bit further afield. You spent some time in Haiti. What was it that drew you there in particular than anywhere else in the world? Was it an assignment or?
Yeah, it was an assignment that I went there for. It was just after, it was 9 months after the earthquake. So I was there on assignment with an NGO. And you know, as with all these things, like with NGO work, it's really, really fast and it's a little restrictive, and you kind of, you know, you have to try and work around that. So I just added on some extra days at the end, so I could just kind of go around and be a little bit more independent and just do my own thing. So
yeah, because it doesn't feel like a news story. It doesn't feel rushed or anything like that. You've taken time with these people. You've gone into their homes, homes that they are treasuring, and you know, people are cleaning and sweeping and made it their own. And it's heartbreaking as well. You have this sense of heartbreak to your work that comes across brilliantly just through people's eyes. But probably one of the most iconic images that you've shot is the ghost estates, the two horses, which that image travelled the world, didn't it?
It did. It was everywhere.
Yeah.
I was a bit unpopular with the Irish government for a while.
But you know, you were exposing the truth. I mean, these ghost estates that are left empty and they're abandoned everywhere after Ireland lost all of its money. I mean, it was obvious that it needed to be shown, and you took on that work yourself and shown it. How long did you spend doing the ghost estates project?
About 6 months. There was an estate that I passed every day, kind of driving from my house into the city, and I just noticed all of a sudden how the weeds were starting to grow up and how the shutters were going down and how they were kind of meeting each other somewhere in the middle. And that was Dublin, and Dublin wasn't really so much affected by the phenomenon of the ghost estates as much as lots of other parts of the country, particularly the Midlands. In a lot of these places, they were built along the Shannon River, and a lot of Americans would know the Shannon through boating and holidays and things like that. And to see this beautiful riverway being destroyed or, you know, being shown beside the decay was just a very, very striking kind of difference, you know. Extremely
stark. It's not the romantic Ireland that we put on our tourist brochures, for sure.
No, absolutely not.
Would you have any advice for any budding photojournalists there who might want to follow in your footsteps?
I would say to come up with a personal project, come up with an idea, and just work on that, work on your one idea, because I think for young people starting out, you know, they need to kind of make themselves stand out from everybody else. It's a very, very competitive industry, and even more so now because there are just so many photographers and so many people doing things. So that, you know, so I would say to work really hard on a personal project over time. Yeah. And then when you've got a kind of a good body of work to start off with, that's going to put you ahead of the pack of someone who's just kind of constantly.
So just work on, try to pick an original idea. I know they say there's none left, but try to pick an original.
There's always ideas.
So we pick a story and work on it.
In your own style. I mean, you know, not to copy anyone else's style. I think it's okay to be influenced by other photographers, but, you know, not to try and
mimic.
Be exactly the same, because then you'll just be seen as being exactly the, you know.
Thanks so much for sharing all your stories. I've learned a lot, I really have, and can't wait to see more as well. Kim, thanks so much. Cheers.
Thank you.
Well, that's it for this episode. I hope you've enjoyed the show. If you feel like starting the conversation, just leave me a comment below. I do appreciate the feedback. A big thank you to the Gallery of Photography for helping out with this show. If you want to learn more about photographic skills, visit the Adorama Learning Centre. You're going to find some tips, tricks, workshops from all sorts of professional photographers. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Adorama YouTube channel, because I'm going to be bringing you back some more videos. Thanks, and I'll see you again soon.
great-looking prints at low cost? Be sure to visit our easy-to-use online printing service. Adorama Pix has professionals who treat your images with the utmost care that you can count on. For a quick turnaround on photos, cards, or albums, use adoramapix.com.